Okay, so one thing to know about me, if you want to know anything, is that I love a good horror movie. I've watched so many and I'm always looking for more, but there's certain subgenres within the horror, like main genre that I'm not a fan of. So I'm kind of picky. I'm not very into body horror. So things like Human Centipede, which I've heard things about, is probably like a movie I will never ever watch. It's just, it's, like I don't like gross out movies. So that one. And also, I'm not the biggest fan of slashers. Like I'll make exceptions, but, and I have watched like, like a lot, like Friday the 13th, Halloween, those kind of movies, but they're not my favorite. But yeah, but in general, I watch like a lot of horror, and I'll even watch like, the indie, like smaller ones. Like I love those. Like I love discovering new things. But yeah, but going to talk about AMC. So I am an A-list member, which means like, I pay for a monthly subscription, and with that subscription, I get 3 movies a week that I can watch as part of that subscription for no added fee, and it can be any format. Like so, I can go to an IMAX movie. I don't have to pay extra as part of it. So I do recommend that. Not sponsored. It's just something I pay for myself and I enjoy. And like previously, like in previous years, I did use it more often, that plan. But I just because of like work and my friends' work, I just haven't had as much time to watch as many movies as I used to. But I still go like pretty often. So I just want to share quickly all the movies because it does keep track in the AMC app, like what I've watched the past year there. And by no means are these the only movies I've watched, like horror movies that I've watched this whole year. Like I still have Netflix and, like I watch movies, stream, whatever. But this is what I've seen in the actual theaters. So I'll blur out things I don't want to show for privacy reasons. But I did watch The Exorcist the Believer. That was actually last year, so we'll skip that, but that was not good. Thanksgiving was fun. That was also last year. Godzilla Minus One, not my favorite. I mean, it felt like really small for a monster movie. And I have watched a lot of Godzilla movies, and I know people love this, but maybe for how cozy and like intimate and more of a drama it was, but it wasn't what I wanted personally in a Godzilla movie. Not saying that what they've been coming out recently with like, what's her face, Millie Bobby Brown, whatever her name is what I wanted in a Godzilla movie. By no means, no. But this isn't it either. So I don't know. So beginning in 2024, the first movie I watched was Night Swim, and it was okay, but it felt more like a streaming type of movie. Then what else did I watch? I watched Dune Part 2, which did have a better payoff. Like it was a payoff worthy of what the setup was in Dune Part 1. And I would say that even though I'm not the biggest Dune fan, like I haven't read the books, but I am familiar with the universe, that I would say if you want a better interpretation of Dune, I mean, visually, yeah, they have the budget and it looks good. But story-wise, I still prefer the sci-fi TV miniseries of Dune and the sequel, Children of Dune. And I just want to say, like years ago, that's how I just first discovered James McAvoy. I don't know if it was his debut role as like Leto II, but that's how I discovered him. And he like caught my attention just because of how good he was in that miniseries. So I do recommend those 2 miniseries if you're into like Dune. I'm not into like the David Lynch movie version. That was not, that one was cheesy. But I thought that even if like, I know that the sci-fi version is limited by its budget, so the costumes are kind of silly and they did have to condense and change some things. But overall, I think the story was better and I like the pacing better, I think. Then we have Imaginary. This one was okay. It was like, like a good night, like if you want to have friends over and watch a movie, like a popcorn type movie, this one was okay. It wasn't like amazing, but a good, Friday night type of movie. Then the next 2 weekends, I watched Immaculate and The First Omen, and I was like, wait a minute. When I watched The First Omen, I was like, didn't I just see this movie like the previous weekend? Because the plots are so similar, like freaky. But of the two, I know people prefer The First Omen, but I actually preferred Immaculate. I feel like this one left a bigger impression on me. Like when I left the theater, that ending just like sticks with you. So for me, I preferred Immaculate. The First Omen, and I will say like I'm a big Omen fan. Like I've seen like the original and I've seen the remake version, which was like it felt like scene by scene, like the same thing, like shot by shot. So I didn't like the reboot version with Julia Stiles, but I really enjoyed the Gregory Peck version. And for me, this one, I don't know, I just didn't like it. Like there were like callbacks to the original Omen, and like I've seen the Omen 2 and Omen 3. I think there were like more Omen sequels, but I think I stopped at Omen 3 with Sam Neill. I think that was in it, right? The Jurassic Park guy. But this one, I don't know, like visually there were some scenes that were like very arresting and interesting, but I just didn't enjoy this. Like, I don't know why it's getting so much hype. I prefer this one. I know the story wasn't as like, I mean, the imagery wasn't as like compelling probably, but I don't know, like I enjoyed this one more. Abigail, okay, so my friend really enjoyed Abigail, but I don't think I'm a horror comedy kind of girl, you know? And this one was just like kind of comedic, but oh my god, like what's his face, the guy from Downton Abbey, he's like everywhere lately. He was one of the main characters in the movie. He played a cop, I believe, or something like that. But what's with him and like him refusing to use his like natural accent? He just always sticks out like a sore thumb. I feel like he's always doing some sort of weird accent. And it's just like it takes me completely out of any scene that I see him in. So I just wish he would use his natural like accent. Tarot, this one, I didn't really hear a lot about it. Like I remember seeing trailers previously when I was in the other movies, but I wouldn't waste my time on this. I mean, yeah, no. Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. Okay, if there's one franchise I'm really into, it's the Planet of the Apes. I love the original. I would say, I love the first, like, I'm not really into the Planet of the Apes, sequels where they travel to like the present, the modern times, the modern day. Because that one was like, it's very dated, especially if you watch it like now. It was like the two apes, they got in like a spaceship and they traveled to modern times, which was like the 70s or whatever. That one was not my favorite. But like I'm a big fan overall of the original movies. But yeah, this one was, I don't know, they're just doing things that I'm just not enjoying. This one was okay, but meh. I watched Furiosa, which was, definitely not a horror movie. Neither was Planet of the Apes, but I mean, I feel like haven't been a lot of movies coming out, and maybe that was because of like the strike or whatever they were going through at the time, which is like why there haven't been a lot of movies. But Furiosa, I don't know. No, did not enjoy. There just haven't been a lot of movies that have been good lately, in my opinion. Watched The Watchers, and the trailers were definitely more interesting than the actual movie. Saw Longlegs, which was, I don't know, people were like gushing over the Longlegs, but it was just like Nicolas Cage being Nicolas Cage, you know? And I don't know, there were some other movies I watched recently that were better than Longlegs. I know a lot of people were anticipating Longlegs, but yeah, no. Late Night with the Devil, I think, was a much more interesting, better horror movie that came out recently than Longlegs. So I would recommend that if you're looking for something to watch. And it's totally different, not like Longlegs at all, but just something like if you're into horror, that's a movie that you should look into, I think. Deadpool and Wolverine, I feel like the MCU has peaked back like maybe like during Infinity War or whatever, but I mean, there were a few cameos that were like, oh, like great. But overall, I feel like, Marvel is past its heyday by now. And I don't think I'm going to probably continue with any more MCU movies. In the most recent movie, which was a while ago, I mean, it's been a while since I've been to the theater. Usually I go like every week or every 2 weeks. But the last one I saw was Cuckoo. And this one was interesting. It's kind of like, if you've seen Vivarium, it has like a similar concept to that one with like the cuckoo birds. But it was interesting. This one again, what's his face from Downton Abbey? That's how I know him. But I forget what his real name is, his actual name. But he's in this movie too, doing another ridiculous accent. It's just like, it completely takes me out. Like every single time I see him in a movie, like just be like yourself and use your accent. I know you're limited in what you can do with, you know, your own accent, and you want to like branch out and do other things, but oh my god, his voice, his accent is just so jarring and so like noticeable in every single movie. It's like, you know, when you hear someone doing an accent and you know that's not their natural voice, like that's how it is for me. But anyway, that's what I've seen at AMC for this past year so far, and hopefully there's like something coming out soon that is like decent, because I've been disappointed in so many movies lately. But I have high hopes. I have high hopes.